Welcome to the 707, a weekly half-hour program produced by KRCB, a service of NorCal Public Media. The 707 features voices and stories from your community, stories that explore the timelessness of beloved characters, and stories that show how we are connected to each other. I'm your host, Michelle Marques. Charles M. Schulz was one of Sonoma County's most famous residents. Our airport is named after the cartoonist, and his Peanuts characters are beloved the world round. And even in space, Snoopy has been to space more than any other astronaut. It's true, but that's a story for another time. This week and next week, we will go on a scavenger hunt of sorts. For a span of 10 years, 2 cities in the United States paid tribute to Schulz and his characters with a series of statues known as Peanuts on Parade.
It was basically the 50th anniversary of the comic strip, and some friends of ours from a company called Tivoli 2, they're the ones that actually made the statues for Santa Rosa and the ones in St. Paul. And they did the statue program starting with Snoopy. They did, I think, over 100 statues every year back there. And it was a huge success. And, you know, I had mentioned that to our ex-mayor, Janet Conrad, about it. And she was excited and says, well, do you think we can bring that to Santa Rosa? And we put a team together and made it happen. Our first statue was Charlie Brown.
That's Craig Schulz, son of Charles Schulz, who organized the Santa Rosa series, which began in 2005, following 5 very successful years in St. Paul, Minnesota, from 2000 to 2004.
The goal back then was, after my dad had passed on, a friend of mine had given the suggestion to the Santa Rosa airport to name it the Charles M. Schulz Airport, and everybody agreed with that. My feeling was always that so many things get named after somebody, and then down the road, no one really makes a connection between the name and that person. I thought it would be great if people came off the airplanes and saw a bronze statue of Charlie Brown and Linus at the wall. And the way we were going to fund that was through the statue program, thinking it was going to take numerous years to reach that goal to pay for a bronze statue. And surprisingly enough, the first statue that went up for auction, I think, went for over $50,000. So within the first year, we had more than enough money to reach that goal.
The idea for this kind of public art exhibit with various artists painting fiberglass statues of the same character was popular at the time. In 1998, there was a series of cow sculptures placed around Zurich, Switzerland called Land in Sicht, or Land Ho. And the following year, Chicago did the same with Cows on Parade. Schulz says the Peanuts on Parade statues created something very special, both for the public and the artists who worked on them.
When you put the statues all around Santa Rosa, I found that 2 things happened. Number one, people started exploring areas of Santa Rosa they'd never been to before. Railroad Square, out of Lake Ralphine, the ice arena, neighborhoods. And within that, people that would never have talked to somebody else before would gather at a statue to take pictures with their children and so forth. And also they would meet new friends. And they had something in common, whether they loved Charlie Brown or Linus or Snoopy, whatever the character was. They kind of formed this friendship and bond by doing that. And the third aspect, I think that was really exciting for me, was what we called the paint-off. And the paint-off is we did at the fairgrounds and one other place, where we bring all the statues into one room, and then all the artists gather in the one room to paint them. Now, when we first proposed, painting these statues, and most artists wanted to take them to their house to do them in their own privacy. And I kept telling them, I said, until you experience the excitement of having 100 artists in the same room, creating different types of art, and the bonding that will occur from that, it's something you're never going to forget. And sure enough, the artists were just overwhelmed by the ability to be in a room with 100 of their friends and colleagues, creating this art. I think they found some friendships that probably exist to this day.
I had the chance to meet some of these artists who gathered together for a dinner 20 years after painting their statues in the Grace Pavilion at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. We met at a restaurant in Santa Rosa's Cottingtown, invited by a Minnesota man named William Johnson. Johnson is a Peanuts historian who wrote 2 books about the Peanuts on Parade statues, one about the St. Paul series and one about the Santa Rosa series.
Having an artist reunion has always been on the back of my mind for a long time, even back when the paint-offs were going on and I was going around interviewing everybody. I talked to them about it then. It'd be like, wouldn't it be cool if we met like 5 years from now or 10 years from now? And everybody loved the idea because of the camaraderie that developed at that paint-off. And then you knew that all summer long, these people had something out on the streets, and even though it was their own, they shared that experience with so many other people. And that's the information that I got from the interviews. The camaraderie was just completely off the charts. And everybody talked about how wonderful of an experience it was, and they wish they could do it every year.
I was delighted to see that one of the artists was an old friend of mine who I've done dozens of live broadcasts with from the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Greg Duncan is the designer for the annual Hall of Flowers at the Fairgrounds, the largest theme flower show in the United States.
I did 4 or 5 of the statues for Exchange Bank and Kaiser and a few others. Charlie Brown, the first one I did was as a Doyle Scholar, so he had a robe and the mortar board and everything. It seemed appropriate for Exchange Bank. The one I like a lot is Lucy, who's got a whole little booth around it, and it's The Doctor Is In, and it's up there at Kaiser on Redwood Highway. They were painting them all there at the fairgrounds, so I had a kind of an inside track to what was going on.
So what is the process like? Did you have to submit what your design is going to be? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, they asked for designs. There were sponsors who said that they wanted to have this done, and when I heard that Exchange Banks wanted one, I thought, well, that's a natural. We'll just do a Doyle Scholar. And it turned, my son was a Doyle Scholar. I did a Woodstock, and I don't know who I did it for, but it was a fun one because he was a carpenter, and we had saws and drills and screws and all kinds of. It was a woodworking Woodstock.
So what is the process to add things onto the base statue? What do you use?
And anything I can get my hands on. I mean, metal, wood, fiberglass, plastic, you know, I mean, my whole experience as a maker is just to use whatever it takes. Just like with the flower show for the last 35 years. It's a bag job. Build as you go.
Sitting with Duncan in the booth is Calistoga-based artist Karen Lynn Ingalls, who worked on 5 of the Peanuts on Parade statues.
Downtown Charlie Brown, who is currently at the library downtown, he's right in front, and 2 Woodstocks, and then 2 Joe Cools. Snoopy is Joe Cools. And I remember they announced it, and there was a meeting of all the artists, and we submitted designs, and then people who were sponsoring designs would, you know, if they saw something they liked, they'd contact you. For Charlie, I had submitted a couple of designs, and I was contacted by our then mayor, who was representing the Courthouse Square Association, and so they were my sponsor. So all of the buildings around his shirt are based on the architecture of buildings that were around Courthouse Square. And so I made that a fun place for the characters to be interacting, including the Empire Building on the back, and Lucy is at the top surveying her empire from the very top of the tower.
Peanuts historian William Johnson was able to excavate some archival audio for me from 2006 when artists in Santa Rosa were working on statues of Woodstock, whose statue featured Snoopy's little bird friend perched on a tree in a nest. Johnson talks to artist Wade Eagle, who turned his Woodstock into the U.S. national bird, naming his statue "The Eagle Has Landed."
Have you done anything like this before? Are you an artist full time or part time?
No. This is the first time for me, and it was pretty overwhelming. You know, when you get in there the first time, because obviously there are a lot of other people that really know what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
When you start painting these things, and I felt, for me, I just wanted to keep it as simple as possible.
Speaking from a lifelong Peanuts fan, I think yours was. The strip, its greatness was because it was very simple and the simplicity of it, and so some of the statues, I think, you know, some of that get really elaborate. Those are really nice in their own right, but I still think stuff like yours that doesn't have any attachments and a lot of stuff like that, those are always tend to be my favorites.
Right, and that was a thought too. You know, I wanted to keep it as much true to the simplicity of the drawings and the characters, the Peanuts themselves, and not get a lot of those elaborate type of stuff.
Yeah, assuming that you kind of sound like you have been a Peanuts fan, living in the area, did you ever have any chances to meet Charles Schulz?
A long time ago, as a matter of fact, a long time ago. I was way back when I was in high high school, I was the cartoonist for our high school paper.
Oh, cool.
And one year there was the Press Democrat and the JC used to put on these annual press conferences. And one year I was awarded for cartooning, and Schulz actually gave me the award that year.
Oh, very cool.
But that's a long time ago. That's like 30 years ago. Yeah, I have been a lifelong fan of the Peanuts myself, way back to the late 60s when I was first introduced to it.
In a world where everything is connected, Wade Eagle is a fan of airplanes, especially those from World War I. He is a volunteer with the Pacific Coast Air Museum, and in the spring of 2022, he found a damaged model of the Sopwith Camel airplane that Snoopy flew in the comic strip in a hangar at the airport. The model was built for one of Greg Duncan's Hall of Flowers displays in 2007. Duncan put Eagle in touch with the man who built the model, as well as a model of the triplane flown by the Red Baron. The Red Baron triplane model happened to be hanging in Craig Schultz's hangar. Snoopy's plane was restored, and now both models hang in the new terminal at the Charles M. Schulz Sonoma County Airport. Come on! In the next segment of the 707, we'll explore where you can find Peanuts on Parade today. This is KRCB.
I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News with a little something to kickstart your mornings. Sonoma First News is a weekday morning podcast with the top local stories and weather updates from across Sonoma County. From Petaluma to Bodega Bay, Sonoma First News has you covered. Subscribe now through KRCB's website, on the NorCal mobile app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Sonoma First News from Sonoma County's NPR station, KRCB FM.
Welcome back to the 707 on KRCB. I'm your host, Michelle Marques.
Peanuts on Parade was a project of over 4-foot statues that a number of people in Santa Rosa, including Craig Schulz and the Schulz family, got from an artist from Minnesota. This all started in 2005. They started off and then they added other sculptures in 06, 07, and then finally the Lucy sculptures in 2010.
That's Denise Aver-Phillips, Visitor Services Manager for the Santa Rosa Metro Chamber, talking to me at the Santa Rosa California Welcome Center in Railroad Square. She describes the scene in 2005 when Santa Rosa began creating the statues.
They had paint-offs. So at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds, even my mom, who's lived in town for a long time, went to go see each artist painting and creating their own special statue. Today, we have the result of some of those that were done back in 05, 06, 07, or 10, but they've also since then been bought, sold, repainted, zhuzhed up, and redone. So we're living now with a version of all of those. Some have gone out of the state. So because we're a visitor center, we get thousands and thousands and thousands of people here each month. And so many people from overseas really are hopped up about all things Peanuts, and they love it. And so people come to Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, they see those statues, they walk in and they say, what is up with all these statues? Or if they know about them, they say, I want a map, I want a map. Well, for years now, we've been working from a very old Word document that a kind person who used to volunteer at the Schulz Museum created for us.
And that's when the Visit Santa Rosa team and the Chamber went into action. They created a new way for people to interact with the statues. Chelsea Wood, Content and Social Media Coordinator, says the Peanuts on Parade interactive map project required a lot of legwork.
We went and confirmed whether or not the statues were still at the locations. Then we made notes of it wasn't there, or we updated the location, or we knew of somebody who knew where a statue had been moved. So it's just a lot of tracking and documenting the new locations and contacting business owners and verifying that they were there, and then going out in the field and taking pictures of each statue. And that I went and I drove out to each statue, made sure I knew exactly where it was so I could not only go take the photo, but then write up the description for this is how you get to this statue. It's behind the building or in the lobby or something like that. It was just really fun to see all the ones that I've grown up. I'm a Santa Rosa native, and so it's interesting to see all the statues that I've grown up to be around, but to see all the new ones that I didn't know and all the new ones that are coming in since we've launched the website. We've gotten maybe 20 more submissions from people of things that weren't even on our radar and weren't on the original map as well. So it's been a journey, and it's exciting to see the excitement that the community has around it.
What's the strangest place where one is located?
Well, the Bodega Bay one is pretty far out there. Denise found that one early on, and so the map was kind of skewed. We had a huge central location of plots in Santa Rosa, and then there's one lonely one way out in Bodega Bay. But the weirdest location, I mean, some people's front yards that I've known of in random neighborhoods that I've gone on drives throughout town. I don't know, maybe behind the hospital. Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital has a couple in the kind of employee-only areas, but if you ask nicely, they'll take you back there.
Okay. What about, do you have a favorite statue?
Oh boy. I think the Lucy at Sonoma County Fairgrounds. She's in a railroad or a roller coaster track. It's very animated. She's got movement in her. It's one of the more unique ones, not in the traditional stance of all the other statues.
What about you? Do you have a favorite?
She stole mine because I just saw that a couple of weeks ago and I was blown away. They're three-dimensional tracks that have movement to them. She's in this old-timey barrel roller coaster car. It makes you laugh, but some of them just are super creative, and I want to get in the mind of those folks. I was told the other day by Craig Schultz's wife that she was one of the ones that helped put mirror pieces all over one of the statues. So it was like a mirror ball, and I haven't seen it. I don't know if it made it through the fire because they had a number of them. They lost their house, I believe, in one of the recent fires. So I didn't get a chance to say, where is that now? But that's maybe the holy grail, is to find one that looks like a mirror ball.
In fact, Craig Schulz says both of them did survive.
Our Woodstock statue, I had put mirrors all around Woodstock, so it looked like just a big diamond Woodstock. That statue is in the gift shop at the ice arena right now on display. The second year we did Snoopy, and we did a total Snoopy all in mirror, and that was purchased at auction by a gentleman up in Windsor, and he has it in a display in his office building, I believe. That's the last time I saw it.
Do you miss the statues that you worked on and can't see any longer?
Yeah, I miss the Snoopy one. Was really special. I did go up and visit that one day. I do miss Woodstock. I'd like to bring him home, but he's very happy down there with all the visitors to see him. And I did have numerous statues on displays, up my driveway, and the UPS people and FedEx people used to always say they'd smile when they come up our driveway because I had like 6 or 7 of them in a row, and they could see all those statues. And unfortunately, 90% of those burned up in the fires when our house burned down. So we lost a bunch of them, but people did love them.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that, both for your loss and for the loss of that beautiful art, so much work.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Were there any particular designs over the years that we had it here in Santa Rosa, from Charlie Brown through Lucy? Were there any designs that you just chuckled at or thought were just so smart?
One of them was like designed like the Starship Enterprise and Spock, and they just ran the gamut, which is what was exciting. The creativity that the artist brought to those statues was kind of amazing, because we'd put some restrictions on them we didn't want them to be commercialized. It's still fun to drive around town, and I look over, I'll see a statue every now and then here and there, where before they were kind of all over the place. Again, this thing that the city is putting on with these maps kind of surprised me how many were still out there that they've tracked down, so people can actually find the map and go back and find them all again, because that was always the fun thing for people to do. People would come into town and they'd get those maps, and they would head on a quest to get a picture with every single one of them with their kids. And sometimes the kids would dress up like something, that would match the character, and they'd get a picture of their child either dressed up like Charlie Brown or Lucy, whatever. And that was always fun. There were a lot of creative things that kind of came about from that program, and people continually ask me, am I ever going to do it again? Unfortunately, I'm too old to do it again. It was a tremendous amount of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned Woodstock, because that was my favorite one too.
Yeah, that was pretty clever.
It was so good with the little Vulcan ears. Like, come on, amazing. So funny. You can find the Peanuts on Parade interactive map at visitsantarosa.com. This story is far from over, though. The 707 will continue to explore the story of these beloved characters next week with a trip to St. Paul, Minnesota, where it all began. You'll also hear from Peanuts superfans who gather at something called Beagle Fest to share their love for the comic strip.
I guess I recognized myself in some of the characters, especially Lucy.
You'll hear more from the artists who use their creativity to decorate these statues.
And this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do this super fun event.
And we'll hear how Sonoma County is celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Peanuts comic strip.
Snoopy's going to be here for hugs and photos. We've got free chocolate chip cookies because, Snoopy does love chocolate chip cookies.
Tune in next Friday for part 2 of our exploration of Peanuts on Parade. I'm your host and producer of this program, Michelle Marques. This show is a service of NorCal Public Media. Our president and CEO is Darren Lachelle.